for District 77. I recently met him, and it's been an honor to know him, getting to know him and his sincere democratic values as he's demonstrated to us. So, without any further ado, I introduce Aaron Barraza.
Thank you very much, Alex, for that introduction. Usually my mom introduces me as Mijo, and the rest is up to me, so here I go. Like Alex said, I was born and raised here in El Paso, Texas. I graduated from Cathedral High School, and then went on to graduate from the University of Texas at Austin. Just to reiterate what he said, I did work for Sylvester Turner. I worked for Juan Garcia. I worked at Stanford Campaigns. I worked at Taylor Collective Solutions. So I do have experience in the political arena. I also took the time to study abroad in London, where I worked at the Center for Parliamentary Studies as a policy analyst. So I have had a chance to be involved in politics, and it was something I always really cared about. When I did work for Texas State Representative Juan Garcia, he was amazing. He was energetic. He had a lot of enthusiasm. And after talking with him, we kind of figured out that Corpus Christi and El Paso had a lot of things in common. And what I really admired about him was he had a very strong desire to be the state representative that did as much as he could for his community, for his hometown. Something that wasn't mentioned is I started off at UT as a biology major. I thought I wanted to become a dentist. And after an internship with Juan Garcia, that changed. What Juan Garcia did for Corpus Christi, I knew that I wanted to do for El Paso. So, thank you. But when I was in Austin, I would always get my eye out for opportunity. And one of the things that I saw was there was a market for a business in Austin. So I decided to start a small company. It was a laundry dry cleaning company. Called it Texas Folding, in an effort to keep it in people's heads. It's all about service, and everything that I undertake was really important to me. But I did have a strong desire to come back home. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. My sisters are 18, 19, 20. My brother's 21. So, yeah, it's a lot. But I'm very close to my family, and they mean a lot to me. I get my values from my parents. My parents, they didn't come from money. They didn't have a college education, and they didn't know anyone of influence. But what they did have is a desire to fulfill their American dream. And with hard work and commitment, they achieved it. They worked hard, and they were able to put their kids in the schools that they wanted to put them in. Their dream was for their kids to obtain a college education, and that's what I did. So I come back because I want to give others the same opportunity that I had. I wouldn't be where I am right now if it wasn't for the education that I got and the hard work and dedication from my parents. Now, I'm sure when some of you heard that I was running for the Texas House of Representatives, 2 questions immediately came to mind. One, who is this guy? And why is he running? So I'm going to answer both of those questions for you here tonight. So like I said, I was born and raised here, but I wouldn't be standing here right now in front of all of you if El Paso was getting the representation that it deserves. And I know that most of you wouldn't be sitting here right now listening to me if you were satisfied with the effort and progress of our current representation. This district deserves representation. It's a very diverse district. You have the Kern Place area, you have UTEP, you have downtown, you have parts of the Northeast, parts of the East Side. It even goes as far as Mesa Hills on the West Side. It's very diverse, and it can be considered the heart of El Paso. It's very important that we have good representation here right now. Unfortunately, we don't. And I want to tell you a little bit about myself and why I want to serve you as your next Texas State Representative here in District 77. My priority is education. As all of you know, there is $5 billion in cuts to Texas public education, 287 school districts in Texas, 4 out of the 9 school districts in El Paso County have applied for emergency waivers to increase their class sizes. That's unacceptable because education has to be the priority. Education is what's going to get us from where we are now to where we want to be. Texas has a Texas Rainy Day Fund, and we need to use it. There was $5 billion cut from Texas education, but how much money needs to be cut before we decide it's important enough to use that money towards education? $6 billion in cuts? $8 billion in cuts? We need to draw the line, and that line is now. Don't mess with Texas starts here. It means don't mess with education, and don't mess with our future. Every child deserves a quality education. No exceptions. And there's more than just the budget. One of the school districts in El Paso Independent School District, was one of the schools that are applying for the emergency waivers. And my aunt she's an elementary school teacher there. Paid her own way through UTEP undergrad, paid her own way through her master's. And after talking to her, I realized it's not just about the budget cuts. That's the big news right now, but it's not just about the budget cuts. There are other issues that need to be addressed, and we're not getting that from our representation right now. One of the issues that came up was a lack of time that teachers get to spend with their students. There's programs that are being implemented right now in our schools that aren't even research-based. We could possibly be wasting our time with this. The teachers need access to the children as much as possible. And right now, we're also something else that's bringing a lot of anxiety to our teachers is the new test, the new state exam, and that needs to be addressed. In this new state exam, there's only 2 versions of it this time. Before with the tax, there was 3 versions. So now our children with special needs are going to take the exact same exam as all the rest of the children. And that means that these children are not going to present they're not going to fulfill their potential with this exam. They're not going to show people what they really are about. And that's something that we need to address. It's not a one-size-fits-all for all of our students. Education is important because it doesn't just affect our kids. It doesn't just affect K through 12. It affects everything in El Paso. It affects our access to healthcare, and it affects our economic development. We're very fortunate to have the Paul Foster School of Medicine here. It's the first medical school to be built in the United States in the last 30 years, and the first medical school to ever be built on the US border. That's a very big deal, and this is very exciting. This is a great thing for us. But what we need to do is make sure we're creating an environment here in El Paso to keep those doctors here. We need to have an incentive for these doctors to want to stay in El Paso, to not leave to Dallas or Houston or Austin or San Antonio, where they can be reimbursed they can be reimbursed more money for the exact same procedures that they're doing here in El Paso. And we need to have representation that addresses that does not just turn a blind eye. If we have this medical school here, we need to take advantage of it. If we're going to start to build a dental school soon, we need to make sure that we have the economic development here in El Paso to keep these top quality physicians in El Paso. As I said before, I am a small business owner. My father is a small business owner. My uncle is a small business owner. Almost half of the Texas state budget is based off of sales tax. We know what it's like to pay taxes. We know what it's like to be a part of a business in a struggling economy. We know it's tough. But we need to provide an environment here in El Paso to maximize the efforts of our small business owners. If the state of Texas is going to allocate money to El Paso to build a new building at UTEP, to build a new dental school, we need to as your Texas State Representative, I will fight to build legislation to make a quota to keep that money that was designated for El Paso in El Paso. That means more money to our workers, more jobs here in El Paso, more money to our contractors, more money to our supply houses. It doesn't make sense for our taxpayer money coming from Austin to be sent to be given to companies that are from Florida or from California. That's our money, and it needs to stay here. We have qualified workers. We have a good workforce. We have great companies here in El Paso. We need to create an environment so we can help ourselves. When it comes to trying to find solutions with our school districts, like I said, it's not just a matter of the budget. It's a matter of addressing the teachers' issues. And we need somebody who's going to do their job in Austin. We don't need a state representative who's going to come to El Paso and try to micromanage the school districts. That's not going to improve anything. We don't need someone who's going to try to impose unfunded mandates on the school districts. That's not going to help. They're already strapped for cash. Something else needs to be done. We need to have an effective leader to go back to Austin and communicate the needs of El Paso. The incumbent doesn't have a legislative agenda. She has a PR agenda. Woo! El Paso's a beautiful place. It's a unique place. We're bilingual, we're bicultural, but we're all American. El Paso needs to be a priority in the Texas House of Representatives, and I intend to make it a priority. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the board of El Paso Young Democrats, we would like to present you with a white t-shirt.